Hey guys, welcome back to NY Sports MC. We just recently wrapped up the offensive side of the ball in our offseason preview. We're going to head on over to the defensive side where Greg Williams did a great job working with the pieces that he had. Hopefully we don't take as many injuries on this side of the ball as we did last year. But Greg Williams, man, I mean, he plugged in these guys that weren't even on the team in training camp. And it was like they weren't even really missing a beat. So exceptional job Greg Williams did last year. But how can we look to improve it? And what areas will we look to improve this offseason? That's what we're going to go through here. So if we start out with the defensive line, this is a spot that was pretty solid for us last year and looks to be returning everybody. We'll have Henry Anderson returning, Mclennan, Quintin Williams, Nathan Shepard, Fatu Kasi, and Kyle Phillips. So I don't really see us spending any assets when it comes to this position. The one spot I wanted to kind of chime in on was Quintin Williams. I know with a lot of Jeff fans already are starting to kind of label him a bust. And I'll tell you what, I was not a fan of the pick. I wanted Josh Allen. I'm not a fan of picking interior defensive linemen that high in a draft. And we seem to continuously do it. Every time one of our guys' contract was about to run out, we drafted another one. Leonard Williams, Muhammad Wilkerson, Richardson, now Quintin Williams. It just was one after the other, all very similar play styles. So never a fan of picking those guys up top. I think you can get value later on, but hey, we have him now. And the thing is, we can't really look at his rookie year and say that he's a bust or that's as good as he's going to play. The guy missed a lot of training camp with an injury, had a ankle injury for most of the season, a few other spots that were banged up too. It's really difficult to make that transition to the next level when you're missing a lot of time like Quintin Williams did miss, especially a bigger guy. When you're built on that explosion and your ankle is not right, it's really going to hamper his abilities. But we did see some flashes this year, so I'm looking forward to hopefully him staying healthy this upcoming year, just like the rest of our defense needs to, and really taking that next step forward and starting to develop as a player. So that's really it. Like I said, Henry Anderson kind of took a step back this year. I think he'll kind of be somewhere in the middle of what he did this last year and the year before. I think that first year with us was an exceptional year, and I think last year was kind of a down year. I think his average is going to be more in the middle. Steve Mclennan, just a wily veteran, great to have him there, great leadership. And we saw what Fatukasi, Shepard, and Phillips can do. Guys that weren't really projected to do much this year. So really excited to see what this group can do. Besides Mclennan, a very young group of guys, so hopefully they'll continue to grow. And then when we look at the linebacker position, this is where there's some moving parts, as a lot of our players are going to be free agents this upcoming year. So you look at both of our starting outside linebackers are free agents in Copeland and Jordan Jenkins. Let's start with Jordan Jenkins. I think he absolutely has to come back. I think he is underrated. If we had a premier edge rusher on the other side, Jordan Jenkins is the perfect complement to that. Unfortunately, we do not have that edge rusher. And I'm sorry to say this, Jeff fans, I don't see us getting it this year. We can't resolve every issue in one offseason, and I think that's just an area that's just going to be too hard for us to fill. So that's why I actually have us bringing Copeland back as well. I think he played well. He's never going to be a pure edge rusher, but I think he does everything well. He's a very solid role player. So I would bring him back because if you look at some of the free agent class here, I mean, we do have some edge rushers in Dante Fowler Jr. and Shaq Barrett, but do you guys really want to spend that much money on people that have only really had this one good year in their contract year? And at least for Dante Fowler, he was part of a great defense that had Aaron Donald in the middle that's taking on double and triple teams. I'm drawing a lot of attention away from him. I don't want to spend the type of money that they would command for what I think would be the lack of production that we will get on our team. Because when you go from being just a piece of the defense to being the main guy in the pass rush, the odds of your sack numbers going up, I just don't want to bank on that. They're most likely going to either stay where they were or even go down with more pressure and more double teams now directed in your direction as opposed to an Aaron Donald. So I would not want to pay those guys the type of money they're worth. I definitely try to bring in somebody on like a lower deal, maybe like a Marcus Golden. I think he played pretty decently for the Giants last year. If you could get him on a cheaper deal, somebody like that. I'm not going to spend big money on the big guys because I just don't think it's worth it. Then when you look at the inside linebacker position, if you guys watched my video on the salary cap, I have us cutting Avery Williamson. Because at the inside linebacker position, I think that's going to be C.J. Mosley and a combination of, I think you bring back James Burgess on a very reasonable deal. He was on practice squads before this year. I know he played pretty well for us down the stretch, but I don't envision him getting a huge deal. I think you'll get him for a lot less than what you would pay to keep Avery Williamson. I would probably let Neville Hewitt go unless you could get him on a very cheap deal too, which you should be able to. I think Neville Hewitt's a good depth guy as well as a good special teamser. And then you also have Blake Cashman coming back. So I'd kind of rotate Cashman in kind of on some of those passing downs where his speed can really help us. But that's what I would have at the inside linebacker position. So love to hear what you guys think about the front seven of our defense. Really excited for Greg Williams in year 2 of this defense. Get him a few pieces. In our next segment, you'll see where I have us spending some money on the secondary to help out Greg Williams. But in the comments below, let me know what you guys think. What do we do on the defensive line? What do we do in the linebacker core? Do you guys see us drafting anybody in these positions? I don't. Do you see us signing and spending big money in free agency on them? Let me know. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the page, hit the notifications, and as always, jet up.